Hey, what's up guys? Back again with another video in the Spigot series. This time I'm going to show you how to work with signs.
She said I drove her away with my emotions. Can't take the pain anymore, I'm feeling hopeless. In my head, she said it's all in.
Alright guys, so like I said, we're going to be working with signs and stuff like that. So basically how to edit a sign and how to place signs and some sign events and stuff like that. Just so you can get an idea of how to work with signs in the future if you ever use signs within your plugin. Yeah, so it's going to be pretty simple, but it's also very complicated in a certain way because there's some things you didn't know existed that you have to work with. But the first thing I'm going to do here is create a package. So we'll go to main Java package thingy and then make a new package. We're going to make a package called commands, and we're going to make one called events. You know, this is all pretty standard. If you haven't seen my other episodes on the Spigot, API, then go ahead and watch my other episodes. There's like 22 episodes before this. They're all very good, so make sure you do that. So the first thing I want to do is make a new command. I'm going to call it sign. So whenever they do /sign, and then it'll do something, right? And the first thing I want to do is show you how to make a sign, how to place one down at the player's location. Okay, pretty simple, but let's just go ahead and do that. So we're going to have to implement command executor because of course we're making a command here. And then what we're going to do is do public void on command, just like this, return, and we've done this a million times, so you should know how to do all of this. And so the first thing I want to do here is check and see if the player is executing this command. So if sender instance of player, and that's capital P because we're checking to see if it's an instance of the player class. And of course if it is, then we want to do what's inside of here. So the first thing we want to do here is get an instance of player. So we're going to go ahead and make a player object. So player is equal to, and then we're casting sender to player. Okay. So anyway, now we have an instance of player that we can use to get a object representation of the player itself who executed the command. Okay. So now what we want to do here is try and make it so that we can spawn a player or spawn a sign at the player's location. So there's probably many ways we can do that, but the most simple way is by doing this. So we can do player dot get world, so get the world of the player, and then we can do get block at. And now we want to specify a location that we want to get the block at, right? So in this case, of course, we want to get the player's location, right? So we can simply do player.getLocation. Now we have gotten the player's location. Pretty simple. And so once we have the player's location, we have, specified if we're get block at. So this means that this little method, if we do Control Q, it should tell us exactly what this method does. It says gets the block at the given location. So that means we have gotten the block. So then we want to set that block. So we'll put a method on top of that method. So block.setType, but now we can set the material of the block that we just got. So we get material.set, and then we're going to find sign. And as you can see here, there's two types of signs. You have a sign, a regular sign, and then you have a wall sign. And if you don't know what the difference is between a sign and a wall sign, I put a picture up on the screen right now. Very simple, but So anyway, we have actually set the location of the player, or we have set the block at the player's location to be a sign. So that basically means that we have set a sign to be at the player's location. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. We'll test that out now. So we'll go back here. Let's go ahead and set the, register this command. So we'll do get command dot sign dot set executor, and then we'll do new signs like that, or no, new sign by itself, right? Let's see here, sign. There we go. This one right here. Okay. So that's the command we want to register. So now we'll go back into our plugin.yml, and we need to register there also. So we'll do commands. Just like that, and then we want the sign command, and then we want description spawns a sign. Okay, that's all we need to get started. So now we can run this by open up Maven and then clicking play, and now it's going to compile everything and run it and put it in the target folder that's going to be generated in a second here. So we'll just give that a second. Alright guys, so we're on the server. I loaded the plugin here so we can go ahead and test it out now. So we're going to go down here, and then we're going to try doing /sign, and then we'll do /sign. And then now we can see that we have spawned a sign at our location, so it worked perfectly, right? So that's that. That's a standing sign, as you can see here. So let's try doing a wall sign real quick, so we can just demonstrate that for you. So we'll go back here, but we can close that if we want to, and then we'll do wall sign. Okay. So I'm gonna spawn this real quick, or I'm gonna compile this real quick, and then we'll go ahead and spawn the sign in a second. Okay. So then we'll do /sign. And as you can see here, we have a floating sign because usually whenever you have a wall sign, it's going to be on a wall, so like this. But now, since there's no wall at our location, it's just going to spawn in the air. But that's fine. So as you can see here, it works perfectly. We can spawn either a regular sign or as a wall sign. That's fine too. But now let's do the hard part, okay? And that's going to be actually editing the sign. And so let's try that out. Let's just jump right into it. So the first thing you want to do here is try getting an instance of the sign itself. Get an object of the sign so that you can change the object. So yeah, we'll just make a sign object. So we'll do sign, and we'll call it sign1, because why not, is equal to, and then now we want to get instance of that block here. So we could simply do that by doing player.getWorld getBlockAt. So we're basically doing the same thing, except this time we're not spawning a sign. This time we're just getting instance of the sign at that location, right? So getBlockAt player.getLocation. So that's going to get the block at that player's location. And there we go. And we have one little problem here, actually two, but one for now, because as you can see here, it says basically on the left side we have a sign object, but on the right side it's returning a block object. So what we can simply do here is just cast it to sign. So now that block is going to be casted to sign, so that we have an instance of the sign object, okay? And you might think that we might be done here. We can start editing the sign by doing sign1 dot and then running some methods here, but we can't actually, because what we need to do here is get the state of the sign. And we could do that by doing dot get state. And let's do Control Q so we can see what getState does. And it says captures the current state of this block. You may then cast that state into any accepted type, such as a furnace or a sign. So basically what that means is that whenever you have a sign or maybe a furnace, the sign and the furnace can change at multiple points in the game, right? They can change, right? So a sign, you can change what's written on the sign. You could change pretty much anything on the sign, right? So you're gonna have different states. And so since the sign is always changing, you want to get a set state or a set just a set state of the sign. I mean, it's not that hard to explain, but that's basically what we need to do. It's basically just, I'm assuming it's just because the sign is always changing that you have to get a certain state of the sign, okay? So we're going to get the state of the sign. So now that we have gotten the state of the sign, we can begin changing the state of the sign, so we can change, what's on the sign and stuff like that. But we have one little problem here. We can't actually do it for some reason. So if we do sign1 dot, we don't have any of the sign methods here. That's because we're actually, we set the state. That's because we actually, we're using not the right object here. We're using the sign class from here. Like we're using this sign class, as you can see here, instead of the sign class from bucket, right? Or Spigot. So what we need to do here is change it. So sign, and then we want to find block. So org.bucket.block. So we want to import this one instead of this one, right? So yeah, it's just a little complication because I named the name of my class sign. So make sure you do not name your class sign. That's probably not smart on my part. So make sure you don't do that. Just name it something else and you won't have this problem. So I'm going to go ahead and change this also right here. So sign, and make sure you import the bucket one, of course. So I guess right here. Yep. So that's why it's like that. You won't see this in front if you do it correctly because you didn't name your class sign also, right? So now that we have the state of the sign, like I said, we can actually change it. So we could do sign1 dot, and then we could do a bunch of stuff like update, set line, get lines, is editable, and then set editable. So these are pretty cool. We could do these methods here to change this, the lines on the sign, or change, the text that's on the sign. So let's try doing that. We're going to set, the first line of the sign to say something, right? And so as you can see here, it's asking for an index. So that's going to be 0 based, of course, because that's how indexes work in Java. So we're going to do 0. So that means it's going to be the first line of the sign. And now what it wants here is a string, which is going to be the text that's going to show up on that line, okay? So we're going to say big booty. So if we do this correctly, it's going to spawn a sign, and then get an instance of that sign, the state of the sign, and then change the first line of the sign to say big booty. So we're going to try that out, okay? But there's actually one thing we need to do, okay? Since we just changed the state of the sign, we need to update the state. We only changed the state of the sign in terms of the object, okay? So we need to change that object to have the new state that we just, created, right? So we can simply do sign1.update. And what that's going to do is simply update the state of the sign. So now it's going to have this new stuff that we just added here, right? Pretty simple, but that's what that's going to do, so make sure you have that whenever you change the state of a sign. So now we can go ahead and compile this, and we're going to test it out. Alright, so we're back on the server, so we can go ahead and reload here. Okay, it's loading. There we go, it's reloaded. So now let's go ahead and spawn the sign, so we'll do /sign. And as you can see here, a sign spawned, and we can see that it says big booty on it. So that worked perfectly, right? So what we did, of course, if you remember 2 seconds ago, if you have Alzheimer's, basically we got the state of the sign that we created, and then we changed the state of the sign by calling upon some methods, and then we also updated the state of the sign so it actually updated, right? So that's all we did, but it's very effective, so we can now edit signs and make them and stuff like that. So let's see what else we can do. So we go back here, and we'll do sign1 dot, and then we'll see get lines, so we can actually get multiple lines, or get a line, or we can get multiple too, so we can get a string array of lines, so we can pretty much get all the lines of the sign. So if we want to do that for some reason, we could store all the text that's on the sign. We could make it editable or not, so the player cannot edit it or not, or whatever. We can do a bunch of stuff, okay? So that's pretty much it. Pretty much the most important thing is being able to set the line of the sign. If you want to play around with the other stuff, then go ahead, but that's the most important part, like I said, okay? So let's try making this command a little more advanced so that we can actually explore a more practical use of this feature. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of all this for now, except for this little top part. So what I'm thinking we should do here is make a command where they can do /sign and then the the line that they want to place some text on. So like for example line 2, and then the text they want to put on that line. So we could do, or just a word in this case, because multiple words would be more complicated. So we're going to keep it simple. So sign, and then the line you want to put something on, and then the word that you want to put on that line. Okay, so we'll do booty. So if they run this command, basically it's going to make a sign and then put on that sign on line 2 the word booty. So that's how that would work. So let's try making that command, okay? So the first thing we want to do is check and see if they provided any arguments or not. So because of course we're going to have multiple arguments to check and see what they want to put on the sign. So we'll do args.length. If args.length is not equal to 2, that means they did not provide any arguments. So what we're going to do here is do player.sendMessage. You need to specify a line and a word. Okay, and then we're going to tell them how to do that. So we'll do player. Oh my gosh, I can't type words. Player.sendMessage. We'll do like this. So we'll give them an example of how to do it. So sign 3 bacon. So that will basically place the word bacon on sign line 3. So that's what that will do. So then we'll do else if. So if they do provide the arguments. So else if args.length is equal to 2, then they provided the arguments hopefully. So now we're going to create the sign. So we're going to do player.getWorld.getBlockAt player.getLocation, and then we're going to do set type material.sign. So that's going to put a sign at the player's location. We've done this before. So then once we did that, we want to get an instance of the sign state, so we can change the state of the sign. So then we'll do sign 1, or yeah, it doesn't matter what we name it, of course, it's just a simple object. So we'll do sign is equal to, and then we're going to cast sign. Oh wait, we need to do the right one. We need to make sure it's the bucket one. So we'll do this here. So sign block. Remember, if you didn't do it like I did, it should just be signed by itself. So then we could do, since we've casted that, we can now do player.getWorld.getBlockAt.player.getLocation. Let's see here, get state. Okay, so that's going to get the state of the sign at that player's location after we created the sign. So now, then after that, we can start editing the sign. So what we want to do here is get the line that the player specified in the second argument. So we could do int line is equal to, and then we want to do, let's get the argument itself. So we'll do args0, and then that should be it, right? But it's actually not it, because arg0 is going to return a string, of course. So what we want to do here is, change or parse this string into an integer. So we'll do integer.parseString, or parse int. Wait, is that the right one? Parse int. Yeah. Wait, no. Yeah, that's it, because it's going to return an integer here. So we'll parse int, and then we can provide a string inside of that. So what that's going to do, of course, is get the first argument, and then it's going to change it to an integer so that we can store it as an integer, right? So we can store the line itself. So now let's also store the word that they want to put on the sign. So we can do string word is equal to, and then we'll just do args1, so that will get the second argument, of course. It's 0 and then 1 because it's 0 based. So that's going to get the second argument and the arguments that they provide. And so now we can go ahead and change it now. So we'll do sign.setLine, and then we want to get the line, of course. That will be the line that they provided. So line here, and then now we want to put word here. So that's all we need to do. Is just plug in the line and the word, and so that's going to change the sign. So it's going to change whatever is on that line to whatever the word is. And then now once we did that, we can simply update it. So sign.update. And that's it. That's all we need to do. Pretty simple. I know I went kind of fast, but it's all very simple. So if you don't understand what I did, then just pause the video and look at it for a second, okay? So now let's go and test this out. So I'm going to go ahead and run this. So this should work. And yeah, I'll be right back. Alright, so I'm back. So we're going to go ahead and test it now. So gotta reload the new version of the plugin, of course, like we did every time. Okay, so now we're going to spawn the sign. So we'll do /sign, and then we get, you need to specify a line and a word because we didn't provide any arguments. And then it says like this. /sign 3 bacon. So let's try doing the example. So we'll do /sign 3 bacon. So now what it does is it spawned a sign and it put on line 4 the word bacon, right? But why did it put on line 4? Because if you think about it, what we did here is we got the line that they provided and we stored it into this integer here. But as you can see here, it's 0 based, right? We're setting the line to whatever the index is. So if we do Control P, it says int index, but we need to provide an index, right? And of course, since we provided the number 3 this time when we ran the command, it's going to set line to 3, which is going to be the third index, but that's actually going to be line 4. But yeah, anyway, just to fix that, we're going to do -1, so that if they provide, let's say, for example, line 4, it's going to change it to the index of 3. And then if they provide line 1, they want to put the word on line 1, it's going to change it to the index of 0, right? Because it's indexed, so we need to put the index in here, not the line itself, right? So that's very simple. Hopefully that makes sense. So we're going to go ahead and recompile this, and I'll be right back again. Alright, so we're done. So we're going to try again. So we'll do sign, and we're going to do line 2 this time, and then we're going to say flamingo. So on line 2 it should say flamingo. 1, 2, there we go. So yeah, it works perfectly. On line 2 it says flamingo, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it for that command. It's very simple. We were able to spawn a sign and then get the state of the sign, change the state of the sign, update the state of the sign, blah blah blah. And they could specify whatever they want with, you know, arguments and stuff like that. So hopefully you like that. So sign 5 would be, it wouldn't work because of course there is no line 5 on a sign. So you might have to check that with if statements if you're actually making a command that's going to use something like this. But that's fine anyway. So you understand the fundamentals of how to, you know, edit a sign and do stuff like that, right? So once we do that, so that's pretty much it for this episode. But before I end the episode, I want to show you how to actually work with some of the assigned events. I'm actually just going to show you one event, but it's going to be pretty good. So we're going to do right click here and then new class. And we're going to call it create event, or no, we're going to call it sign events. Pretty simple. And we're not going to do anything crazy. I'm just going to demonstrate one of the events for you. So we're going to do implements listener. Oh, wrong listener here. Listener from bucket. There we go. So now we can add a listener here. So event handler public void on sign events, and then we want to do something like this. So sign change event. Okay, so whenever the sign changes, then we're going to do something. So if we want to see all the methods that come with this event, of course, we could simply do E and then dot, and then now we can do Control Q, and then it explains all of them for us. So we're going to do something simple. We're going to get the block at which the event happens at, basically, or the block that is involved in the event, as it says here. So we're going to do E.getBlock, and then we're going to set that block. So set type material, and let's try doing diamond block or something like that, right? So that basically is going to get where the sign is changed, and then it's going to set that block to be diamond block. So very simple, but that's just simple. Very simple, but yeah. But also the other things that we can do is do E.get line, so we can get the lines that were changed in the event. So we can, you know, in case you want to do that, you can get the lines that were changed. You could do get the player that changed the sign. You could do a bunch of stuff, right? And then you could even set canceled so that the sign is not being able to be changed, and a bunch of stuff. So hopefully you like that, but we're just going to keep it simple by changing the block that the sign was changed at to a diamond block. So we need to register this before we go and try this out. So we'll do get server.get plugin manager.register events new, or no, wait, is it this? Yeah, no. Here we go. So this, new sign event, and then this, okay? So that's going to change the, so that's going to register the events for us. So we're going to go ahead and run this, and I'll be right back. So let's go ahead and do /sign, and as you can see here, nothing happened. But if we go ahead and change the sign by putting it down and then, you know, writing something, then it's going to spawn a diamond block because the sign was changed, and then at that location it got the block of where the sign was changed and then changed it to a diamond block. And of course, since we're getting location of the block that was changed, it's just going to be the sign itself. So basically it's just going to change the sign to a diamond block. Pretty simple stuff. But let's try this. We can put a sign here, and then now this is changed to a block also. Yeah, so it's all very simple, but that's just a simple demonstration of how you would use a sign event. Yeah, so anyway, that's how you edit signs, place signs down, change signs, and all that fun stuff, change the state. But yeah, if you have any questions about what we did up this episode, go ahead and ask in the comment section. I'll be glad to help you. Also, we have a Discord link in the description too. You can join our Discord, hang out with us, ask questions, whatever you want to do. Also, one more thing, we have all the code from today's episode in the description below also, so make sure you check out all the codes and save it for future reference, because, you know, sometimes you're going to forget code like I do, because I forget code all the time. So whenever you forget code, you're going to have it saved for yourself so that you can look it up real quick and then learn how to do it, right? So if you like this video, leave a like. If you want to see more, subscribe, and peace.